after we all die, we all rot, and none of this actually happens.
Good. In that case, none of us would have an issue.
Exactly.
However, if there was an afterlife, and there was God, and there was the day of judgment, and there is punishment in the grave, and there are angels, then what would you do?
I'll be stuffed and you'll be lovely, loving life.
Good. So who's taking the bigger risk?
I'm taking a bigger risk.
Okay. Does an intelligent person minimize the risk, or maximize it?
With dissonance.
Huh?
That's dissonance.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I believe in dissonance. And I think
So you believe things like married bachelors? I thought you didn't.
I believe in dissonance.
Elaborate on that in this context.
I believe that there's no evidence for the basis of God, but a lot of people.
No. Before we go to God, look, I gave you the reason.
Let's take it.
You know the reason I gave you these examples.
Because you're better than me at this.
No, it's not. It's not. The reason I gave you this example is because everyone can relate to this. Whether you're an atheist, you're a theist, you're an agnostic, doesn't matter. Yeah. Everyone can relate to this example of a married bachelor, because there are some things which we can say are not in existence. Because these are...
In my opinion, God doesn't exist, but people believe it exists.
Yeah, but like I said, everyone can relate to this. So before you even go to God, we haven't even come there. No need to jump the gun yet. We'll come there. Don't worry.
Let's go to the big one.
We'll go to the big one. Let's start with the small ones first. Because if you can't get your head around the small ones, the basics...
Why is it me getting my head around it?
No, if you can't get your head around the basics...
Why are you trying to teach me something here?
Well, it's up to you whether you want to learn or not.
I
didn't come here as that. I came to talk to you based on logic. I didn't...
But you've got it in your head that you're trying to teach me something.
That's what you implied.
Rather than have a conversation where we're both trying to learn from each other.
So why did you assume I came to teach you?
Because you just said, if you want to learn something, you should listen to me. That's what you just said.
I didn't say that, actually.
You just said, if you want to learn, I should listen.
No. If you want... Look, in your daily life, we apply logic.
Yep.
And that's where I'm coming from. Okay? Is that something which is normal or not for us? That we actually employ logic.
This, to an extent, and then
good.
love and faith. And
so there are certain things which we can talk about, like a married bachelor, but in reality they don't exist. Okay. Now you wanted to. You mentioned the Big Bang. The Big Bang is a theory which I think it has got a lot of evidence, and that's the reason it has reached the status of a theory. It's not just a postulation or somebody's opinion.
That's where we started this debate. I don't know that. I said that's my theory.
And then I mentioned cause and effect. And I mentioned the Big Bang is an effect. So we have to know what the cause is. And in order to understand that...
You don't have to know what the cause is. You've created something to know what the cause is.
When I
don't believe we have to know what the cause is.
When I say you have to, what I meant is like, because for every effect there has to be a cause. They're relational.
Yeah, and I don't think we know what the cause is.
If you don't want to know, that's different.
I don't not want to know. I just don't think anyone does know.
Okay, fair enough. So that's why we are using...
But I think you've created something good.
That's why we're using deductive reasoning. So what we do is we rule out the things which don't apply to such a cause. So for example, one of the things which are applied is like nothing cannot cause something. So we can rule nothing out. Good. So what is left now?
Faith.
Okay, faith meaning...
Creator.
Okay. So what would you say? Would you say... That's right. So what is left that you believe in?
I don't know. I told you this when we started. I don't know what the answer is.
So have we now ruled out all possible? We have exhausted all...
I came into the conversation trying to learn.
Okay, so that's fine, no problem. So one of the other things which I would say is like, or some people would say, is that the universe caused itself. Is that a possibility? Logically.
Not purely about logic.
That's fine. Use faith, no problem.
I doubt it.
No problem.
I don't think so.
So that's not a possible. The universe creating itself.
Not a possible. I don't think so.
Okay, why is that? Why would you rule it out?
Because I don't know. I don't have enough evidence for that to be the answer.
Okay, I would rule it out because it would be again circular. That the universe didn't exist. So how could it create itself? Is that logical?
Yeah.
Good. We are making progress. All right. What other possibilities?
I don't know. We're still.
Okay. So we ruled out two. The third possibility is something that exists outside the universe, which is immaterial, which has the ability to bring this universe into existence. Okay. I call that God.
Okay.
We can give it like supernatural power. I don't know. Anything that you think. Can that be a possibility?
Can be. Do you have evidence?
Hold on. Before we go to evidence, I'm saying, can it be possible?
Yes. Do you have
Good.
evidence?
So it is a possibility. Since it's a possibility, now we have to understand if that is the only possibility. Would you say that is the only possibility?
We don't have to
So
do
give me
that.
other possibilities
We've got
then.
to find that is the evidence. We've got to find the evidence for that theory.
No. I'm saying this, we're taking it step at a time. Okay? So if you think that this, let's say this entity, okay? This entity brought this universe into existence because number one, it exists. It exists outside the universe. Number two, it has a will. And it has the ability to bring this universe into existence. So the ability to create, for example. If that is a possibility of such an entity existing, okay? Now the next question is there another possibility besides this?
Potentially, I don't know what the answer is, so yes.
Okay, so since we have exhausted, at least from my
We
perspective,
haven't exhausted, we've just said there's endless possibilities.
no, but if you're saying it's endless, then you should show me that.
And you should show me the evidence for your theory.
Yeah, we haven't got to the evidence part yet.
But you just
I'm
told me I
using
didn't show evidence
no,
for
no,
my
I'm,
part,
I'm,
and you don't need to show evidence for
no,
your part.
I'm using deductive reasoning to find the entity first before we get to the evidence part.
Okay.
So unless you can show me another possibility, we can say we have exhausted our possibilities of what caused the universe.
Okay. In your opinion, yeah, go.
What's in your opinion? Is there another possibility?
Yes, because I told you I don't have the answer. You seem to have the
No.
answer. You're telling
When
me
you
you've got the
say
answer.
when you say there is another possibility, then you can't say I don't know.
Of course I can.
Okay. Do you know there's another possibility, or you don't know there's another
I
possibility?
don't know that.
Good. So say you don't know then.
I've said many times. I
No,
don't
you
know.
said-
You're telling me you know, but you're withholding the
No.
evidence.
I'm
You
not
keep telling me
withholding.
that.
I'm saying I'm taking it step at a time.
You tell me you've got the evidence. But
Okay.
You're not telling me you've
So
got the evidence.
I'm saying we have exhausted possible causes
Okay.
of the existence of the universe. And if you think there is another cause besides this entity I just spoke about, then provide it to me. If you cannot provide, then we can say, let's deal with this entity and find the evidence for that. How about this?
Go for it.
Okay, good. I've already given you certain attributes of this entity because one of them is the fact that the universe exists. It must imply that it was.
It must imply.
It must
I
imply.
don't- That's not evidence. It must, isn't
I
it?
haven't even said what it must imply. You're already assuming what I'm saying. Okay, so let's not jump the gun.
You're already trying to convince me of your opinion.
Look, I'm
That's
not
what we
here to convince you. I'm here to have a reasonable dialogue with you. Whether you're convinced or not my problem. Because if you go away from here unconvinced or convinced, that is up to you, my friend.
Exactly.
I'm not trying to impose it on you.
Exactly. We're both trying to learn.
So there's no need to get defensive.
I'm not getting defensive.
I
We're
think
both
you are.
trying to learn.
Okay, let's deal with the facts here. The fact is the universe exists.
Are you trying to learn in this conversation or not?
If you're teaching me something, I'm more than willing to learn. Okay, so if the universe exists, we know that it must have come from somewhere. Because we cannot say it came from nothing because we rule that out. We cannot say the universe caused itself because we rule that out as well. Using logic and reason only.
Which we established I don't work on, but okay.
So you believe in logic.
I believe in logic to an extent, up to where I start believing in love and faith.
Good. I don't know what extent, but you believe in logic. That's important for me.
Okay.
The fact that you agreed with me, that means you at least believe in that part of the logic.
Okay, yeah.
Good. Now, everything in the universe, if you notice, is dependent on something.
Okay.
Yeah, do you agree? Okay. If it is dependent, then it is not necessary. That means the world could have been without its existence.
Okay.
Right? We say that this entity, which I just talked about, having the will, existing, having the will, the ability to create, we say that this entity is, or this being, is not contingent on anything. Because if it was contingent, then we would have a problem which is called infinite regress. I don't know if you heard of that.
Yeah.
I can explain if you don't know.
Go on, go on.
Okay, so infinite regress is where you have an infinite chain of causation.
Yeah.
Like, for example, let's say X depends on Y depends on Z, and so on. Yeah? Up to infinity. That is an impossibility.
Okay.
The reason for that is because there has to be a point where this chain must come to a stop.
Okay.
Or basically a beginning. It must have a beginning for it to reach here. So we know that this world exists.
Yeah.
We can't say that something created this world and something created that creator and something created that creator's creator.
Okay.
We can't go infinite.
Why not?
The reason you'll have infinite regress which logically is impossible, just like the married bachelor
Exactly,
I talked about.
Because your mind can't handle the potential for that. So you've created something in your mind to create an endpoint. But you don't have the evidence for that endpoint.
No.
You've just created that endpoint.
Okay, so the endpoint, without the endpoint,
Yeah.
it is logically impossible for you and me to exist. If you think about this,
Yeah,
the infinite.
based on logic again. But that's what I'm saying. I believe in something beyond logic.
What-
And
what is that beyond
I think
logic?
you do as well.
What is that
which
beyond
is why
logic?
you believe in God and a creator. Because I don't think
No. But even the God and the Creator that I believe in is based on the reasoning that God has given us. Yes.
But that's a contradiction in terms because you said
No, it's
God
not.
gave you that.
Yeah.
And if I don't believe in the initial God giving you that,
Whether you believe in God or not, you have reasoning. The world will
God
exist.
within me.
The world does exist.
within me.
Yeah. It is.
I don't need a God to tell me that.
No. Just because you don't acknowledge the Creator, doesn't mean the creation doesn't exist.
You've just denied my belief within that sentence because I don't acknowledge the creator. I'm allowed to have that belief system and believe that comes from within rather than a God giving me that.
That's fine. You're allowed to not believe in God,
Yeah.
but that doesn't change the fact that the world does exist.
Yeah.
And it does need someone to bring it into existence.
No,
because
it doesn't.
because we already ruled out
First
nothing.
part was good. Second part, you just said it needs something to bring it into existence. I don't believe that.
Okay, so you're saying it doesn't need someone to bring it into existence.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you remember the cause and the effect?
Yeah.
Yes. So if you think this universe is the effect, what is the cause?
I don't know.
Good.
We're back to the
That
same
is not
point.
an answer, by the way.
It is an answer.
That's
I said it as an answer.
no. That's an appeal to ignorance.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Because it's completely the opposite. Because it's saying I'm willing to learn the answer, but you're saying I've already got the answer, but I'm not telling you the answer.
But you just said it was an answer. So are you willing to learn the answer?
I don't know is an answer.
No.
And I'm willing to learn what the answer is. I don't think you've got the answer.
But hold on. If it is the answer, then there is no question of learning the answer.
Of course it is. I don't know is an answer, and it
Okay.
means you're open to learning what the answer is.
You know when you sit in an exam
Yeah,
and you have lots of questions?
Yeah.
Let's say you have 5 questions.
yeah.
You have said, I don't know to each one of that.
I wouldn't do that
Is it hypothetical?
because I want to pass the exam.
I know, but if you don't know the
Whereas
answer,
this, I don't know the answer, so it's a bigger question of passing an exam. I want to learn about life. I don't want to pass the exam.
it's an
I don't want to
analogy,
pass-
man. Don't butcher the analogy.
I am going to butcher the analogy because
You are.
it doesn't hold
Because
up.
if let's annoy you. Let's say a student
Yeah.
answers all the questions as I don't know.
Yeah.
How many marks will he get?
0.
Why?
Because he's going to fail.
Because they are not answers.
It's the wrong answer.
Because that's not the answer.
No, it's the wrong answer.
Exactly,
But
which
he
is not
might,
the
go
answer.
he might go outside and learn the answer rather than put down an answer that you've said is right.
You're
and
butchering
teacher
the analogy
doesn't-
again.
The teacher doesn't think it's right.
You're butchering the analogy again.
Because
The fact that he said I
needs
don't know
to be
to
right.
the fact that he said I don't know to each question is because the reason he got 0 is because that is not the answer.
Exactly, and you don't have the answer to those questions as a teacher.
So now would you say the student answered the questions or not?
He did answer the questions, truthfully, saying I don't know what the answer is.
Okay, and you think that's the answer?
I think that's the answer
Okay,
if you
good.
don't know what the answer
That's
is.
fine. So whenever a student writes I don't know, you think that's the answer. No problem. I see that as he he didn't know the answer. He's claiming that. Okay.
He didn't know the answer.
That's why you wrote I don't know the answer.
Okay.
Okay? So he himself is claiming he doesn't know the answer. But you're saying that's the answer. But it's up to you, no problem. Look, the reason I'm saying we have to employ logic and reasoning is because everyone has it, whether you believe in God or not.
Yeah.
And that is the only way for us to operate at this level.
Okay.
Before you jump into faith and everything, because there are many faiths.
Yep.
Yes? Some people say there are more than one God. Is that logically possible?
No.
Why? Oh, well, that was very good actually. I like that. Because you did not even say it's possible, maybe not possible. You went straight to no.
Because it's everyone's belief system, whatever faith they want to believe in.
No, I'm saying why did you say straight away no? Why did you not say it's possible? Like you did so far.
Because in my belief system, I don't believe in any of those faiths, but I'm open to believe everyone's allowed to believe in each of those faiths.
No.
That's
The
fine.
question was, do you believe that there is more than one God? And you straight away said no.
Because I don't believe that.
No, he didn't say there's no God. He's saying there's.
I said, no, I
There's-
don't believe it.
Okay. So you're saying there is no God or there's no multiple gods? Which one are you saying?
I don't believe in any God.
I know you don't believe in God.
Yeah.
Okay. But when I asked you the question.
Any of them.
Okay, that's fine, no problem. So, one God, why would you say that it's not a possibility?
I didn't say it's not a possibility. I said I don't believe in it.
Okay, good. So, but it is a possibility.
If you want to believe
Okay.
that, it's a possibility.
Good. Now, let me rephrase that question I asked you.
Yeah.
Is it a possibility for multiple gods?
Not not in my opinion. I still hold the same opinion. We've covered that.
No,
I don't believe it.
No, but you said it's a possibility, right? For the one God.
Possibility.
Okay,
You want to
so
believe
for
it,
multiple
believe
gods, is it a possibility as well?
it. No, none of it's a possibility.
Okay, so now we have narrowed it down. For one God, it's a possibility. For multiple gods, it's not. Have I got it right so far?
None of it's a possibility.
No, but
in my
you.
opinion.
Okay, once again, is it possible for one God to exist?
No, not in my opinion.
Why is that?
Because that's my opinion. I don't believe.
No, but your opinion needs reasoning, right?
Same as your evidence.
I gave you reasoning for everything
You've
so
still
far.
given me no evidence as to why the God
No,
created the world.
wait. What kind of evidence are you seeking? Material evidence?
Yeah, evidence that God created this.
No.
We're living in.
Is it material evidence you're seeking? Or logical reasoning? Which one is it? Because there are two different things.
I think logic is subjective. Do you think logic is subjective?
No. Logic is not subjective.
I believe it is.
Okay.
I believe your angle is based on when we started this, your previous experience and bias and all of that.
I will show you why logic
so
is
your
not.
logic is different from my logic.
I will prove to you why logic is not subjective. Okay. A 2D picture
Yeah.
with three sides is called what?
I love this because you're coming into my world. So this is exactly where I get my opinion from. Is photography. If you look at a photograph from one angle, you see it from
I said
your
2D
angle.
picture very clearly. That's why I use this phrase 2D picture so you wouldn't have.
The world isn't 2D.
No, but I didn't say the world is. I said you draw a 2D
We've got
picture.
to then extrapolate this out to the world, which is not 2D.
My friend,
So
when
can't
you
work
draw
on a 2D basis.
on a piece of paper, okay, a three-sided figure,
Yeah.
is that not possible? Good. What is that? What is that figure called?
A triangle.
Is that subjective or objective?
That's subjective.
How?
Because what you can see as a triangle, somebody else can see as something else.
As what?
I don't know.
But you made the claim as something else, so you must have some idea as to what.
We're not going anywhere here.
No, we are actually. Because I showed you an example of something which is logical, which is objective, yet you want to argue it is subjective.
You still haven't given me any evidence for what your
Okay.
opinion is.
No, but I proved to you that logic is objective. In this case, at
You
least.
haven't proved me everything. You just
I
told
gave
me
you the proof
proved
of
me something.
the. Okay, by the way, it's called a triangle.
Yeah.
And anyone who looks at that 2D diagram of a three-sided object
Yeah.
is a triangle.
Yeah.
It's not subjective.
So what happens when
Do you agree it's not subjective?
What happens when all of this falls apart and after we all die, we all rot and none of this actually happens?
Good. In that case, none of us would have an issue.
Exactly.
But,
So that's where I'm coming from.
but,
So
if
you've got a lovely belief system which carries you through.
no, hear me out. Here. So if that is the case, where that is the end for both of us or every one of us, we wouldn't have an issue. No matter how you lived your life, because that is the end, then none of us would have an issue. However, if there was an afterlife, and there was God, and there was the day of judgment, and there is punishment in the grave, and there are angels, then what would you do?
I'll be stuffed and you'll be lovely, loving life.
Good. So who's taking the bigger risk?
I'm taking a bigger risk.
Okay. Does an intelligent person minimize the risk, or maximize it?
Maximise, but I will risk
An intelligent person.
versus reward.
No, hear me out. An intelligent person
Yeah,
minimizes the risk or maximizes it,
maximise it.
which is what you're doing. So you're not intelligent.
I am intelligent.
Okay, this is coming from arrogance now. When you already have agreed that an intelligent person minimizes the risk, and then you're saying, yeah. So, you know why we are using this deductive reasoning to come to the conclusion that there is such an entity? Because the fact that we see this universe, we see that everything in the universe is dependent, then there must be a cause which is independent and non-contingent.
There must be. Because
There must be.
You want to create one.
No, there must be, logically speaking.
But you don't know
Otherwise,
what it is.
otherwise,
Say you've created something.
otherwise you
but
would
you
have.
don't know what the answer is.
No, otherwise we would have infinite regress.
I'm going to head out.
Okay, no problem. What's your name?
Mark.
Mark, I'm Hashim. Nice speaking to you. By the way, no hard feelings. Here, I'm not trying to put you down or make you look bad or anything. The whole idea is to have a communication which is logical with reasoning. But like I said, you know the afterlife.
Yep.
I would ask you to minimize your risk, not maximize it. So maybe look into.
Far closer to my opinion than you actually think I am.
Second,
I'm actually far closer to your opinion than you think I am.
I'm not
Because-
making any conclusion based on what you believe. I only go based on what you told me. I'm saying that until we realize that there is another possibility
Yeah.
than putting all your eggs in one basket of God not existing.
But you're doing
It
the
is
same thing as me.
No, actually-
I agree with you, but you're putting your eggs into that basket based
I'm
on
not
you
actually.
don't have the evidence, you don't have the factual
no.
evidence.
Do you remember what I asked you? I said if we die and there is nothing,
Conversation. We just finished the conversation.
yeah, I know, but I don't know if you understood the last part where I said if we both die and there is
I
nothing,
understand perfectly well.
then we are not taking
you
any
try to
risk.
dominate other people to try and get them to think the same way, and they're not allowed their own opinion.
Actually,
and I think differently.
hold on. I did allow you to, you know.
But you keep trying to tell me that you're trying to teach me something.
I never said during the
back and forth
discussion.
conversation.
No. I'm saying he's taking a huge risk and he knows it.
Everybody
Yet
here-
he wants to go on taking the big risk. But an intelligent person, which he correctly said, minimize the risk, not maximize it.
I'm saying that everybody here tries to tell everybody else what their opinion is. rather than
I'm not
having an
imposing
open
anything on you.
conversation And teach people and just open to learning.
During this
Because everyone
discussion,
thinks they've got the answer and they want to stick true in that answer, rather than having an open conversation and maybe learning something.
did I impose anything on you? Any of my opinions?
You've tried to tell me that I'm trying to learn off you,
No, that's your.
and that you've got nothing to learn off me.
By the way, that's your understanding. I never said that.
You did. Look at the fact.
Yeah, look at the camera. Go home. This will be on Dawahwise channel. You can go and look it up. If I ever made anything closer to what you just said, like I said, it's in your head.
You said I can learn off you if I want to.
I can learn off you as well.
Oh, there we go.
In fact, I said that at the beginning. Okay. Anyway, the evidence is there. All right. And by the way, that cannot lie.
Perfect. Good.
Good.
talking to you.
Anyway, take care, mate. Okay. So, alhamdulillah, you know, we should be open to reasoning. And even if that is not the case, then it's pointless, honestly, you know, because sincerity is everything. If you are not willing to learn, okay, which is what he was trying to say, that I'm here to learn, and then you're not really, when it comes to the actual case in reality, then it is pointless. Anyway, we wish that he still finds his way, that Allah gives him hidayah, and inshallah it comes to the right path. But I think sometimes using logical deduction, logical reasoning, for us, it's the best way to start with an atheist. But if they don't even go based on that very principle, which is the foundation of what rationality is, then there's not much hope for that. So may Allah, you know, give him hidayah, open his heart to the truth. Still young man, you know, inshallah, there's still hope. So we pray that he gets guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and inshallah, may Allah make it easy for him and for all of us. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.